Hi students, welcome to lesson number 12, Family, Work and Property. Now let us start with the introduction. Family is a group of persons united by the ties of marriage, blood or adoption, constituting a single household and interacting with each other in their respective social positions, usually those of spouses, parents, child, children and siblings. At its best, the family performs various valuable functions for its members. Perhaps most important of all, it provides for emotional and psychological security, particularly through the warmth, love and companionship that living together generates between spouses and in turn between them and their children. Objectives of the lesson are to know the meaning of family and work, to learn the property laws of the different communities. Now, what is the meaning? The meaning of the family goes in such way. The family is an intimate domestic group made up of people related to one another by bonds of blood, sexual mating or legal ties. It is the smallest and most basic social unit, which is also the most important primary group found in any society. It is the simplest and most elementary group found in a society. It is a social group consisting of father, mother and one or more children. It is the most immediate group a child is exposed to, and in fact, it is the most enduring group which has tremendous influence on the life of an individual from birth until death. It also accounts for the most enduring social relationship found in society. Now, let us have a look on the characteristics of family. 1. Family is a universal group. It is found in some form or the other in all types of societies, whether primitive or modern. A family is based on marriage, which results in a mating relationship between two adults of opposite sex. Every family provides an individual with a name and hence it is a source of nomenclature. Family is the group through which descent or ancestry can be traced. Family is the most important group in any individual's life. Family is the most basic and important group in primary socialization of an individual. A family is generally limited in size even in large, joint and extended families. The family is the most important group in society. It is the nucleus of all institutions, organizations or groups. Family is based on emotions and sentiments. Mating, procreation, maternal and fraternal devotion, love and affection are the basis of family ties. The family is a unit of emotional and economic cooperation. Each member of family shares duties and responsibilities. Every family is made up of husband and wife or one or more children, both natural and adopted. Each family is made up of different social roles like those of husband, wife, mother, father, children, brothers or sisters. Now let us look into the functions of family. As a social group and as an important social institution, family performs various functions that are as follows. 1. Family is a unit through which procreation takes place. Marriage sanctions sexual relationships and it also establishes a family which is further reinforced with the birth of children. Second one, the process of reproduction is institutionalized, regulated and controlled in a family. The family legitimizes the act of reproduction. Third one is, family helps in propagation of human species and perpetuation of human race. The fourth point is, family provides an individual with an identity. The fifth one, it is through the family that every family name is carried on from one generation to another. The family is responsible for the production and upbringing of children. And family is an important agent of socialization. The primary socialization of any individual takes place within the family. The immediate family members teach all the basic rules and norms of social life to a child. Family is also an important agent of cultural transmission. Culture is transmitted from one generation to the another through family. All the aspects of culture are learnt within the family structure. Family is a great source of strength, emotional and psychological, for its members. All the members are aware that they can depend upon their family in the times of needs. Family provides an individual with a home and establishes enduring social relationships. The family is the basis of division of labor, where all members have their duties and obligations towards each other. A family fulfills the economic needs of its members. This function has undergone transformation, with families moving from being production and consumption units in earlier times to becoming more of consuming units rather than a producing one. Nowadays, members of a family no longer produce things themselves, rather they go out and work for some monetary remuneration or wages. Family is traditionally responsible for the education of the children. Family also has a recreational function. Earlier, most recreation was family based, and family gatherings during festivals, functions and family reunions, marriages, which brought entire families together. Nowadays, taking family members out on holidays or for movies, plays, dinners or parties etc. perform the same function. Now, let us concentrate on the work and family. Because the two most important roles of life for many people are work and family, understanding the relationship between the two is crucial. Although work and family research in the 1960s and 70s primarily focused on dual career families and working mothers, and research in 1980s evolved into a multidisciplinary and multi-theoretical area of study. The theoretical paradigms of work and family are: the paid work has been conceptualized in various ways. Paid work typically consists of activities for which one receives remuneration or that an individual performs while occupying a position in an organization. This does not take into account the work that is unpaid and outside the formal economy. Research on paid work and family life typically fits in one of the two categories, depending upon whether one focuses on the workplace or the family. The 6 different conceptual models representing multiple disciplines are the separate spheres model, the multiple role model, the job demands model, the spillover or crossover model, compensation theory and an interactive model. Now, let us have a look in separate spheres model. The separate spheres model sees family and work as distinctive systems, with the family as a domestic haven for women and work as a public arena for men. Further, family and work should remain separate in order to function properly, and the division of labor by sex should be maintained in order to avoid conflict. The multiple roles model concentrates on, also known as the conflict perspective. The precursor of the multiple roles approach was early research of the effects of wives and mothers' employment on marital adjustment, power and division of labor, as well as on child outcomes. The multiple roles perspective shifts from a special focus on wives' employment to viewing wives' employment as only one special case of a broader phenomena, the possible occupancy of multiple roles by persons of either sex. The job demands model concentrates on where the job demands model, which negative outcomes on marital adjustment and other family variables are interpreted as a function of the structural demands, that is the number, scheduling and flexibility of work hours, and the psychological demands, that is the space of work, workplace conflicts, negative moods generated at work of the jobs individuals which hold. Underlying the job demands model is an implicit belief that the job demands most impinging on family life, which derive from a social organization of work. The historical context and new patterns concentrate on the most information written historically on work and family, which discusses issues related to the Western world or industrialized countries. In the pre-industrial period of England and the United States, for example, the family was the unit of production. Men, women and children worked in the home and in the fields. Life was characterized by an interweaving of the husband and wife's involvement with the domestic life and with the productive work life. There existed an integration of work and family with the husband, wife and children all working in the home. With the Industrial Revolution, work was now separated from the economy. For men, it meant involvement in the outside world and in the expanding marketplace. For women, it is increasingly meant confinement within the home. The legislations was introduced restricting employment hours for women and children, and thus restricting the women's employment opportunities and resulted in married women staying at home to care for their children. This ideology of women's confinement to the home originated in the middle and upper classes and is clearly a concept originating in Western family ideology that eventually extended to the working classes also, and despite the fact that it ran counter to the economic needs of the family. The idea that work outside the home for married women was a misfortune and a disgrace, according to Oakley, became acceptable across all social classes. Nevertheless, although this ideology existed, families were still heavily dependent on the contributions of wives and children to the family budget, and many countries such as Belgium and Spain, wives were gainfully employed. Historical events such as pressures of wartime economies have led to the mass hiring of women in the labor force, causing a temporary relaxation of the gender divide. For example, women's efforts were seen as vital to the nation's survival. However, as soon as men came home after World War II, the gender divide was restored. West Germany paralleled the United States in this phenomena, and in contrast, the East German government expected the war widows to replace the male breadwinner by seeking full-time employment. Changes that occurred in the United States from 1960s to 1990s include an increase in married women with children in the labor force, a slight decrease in men in the labor force, a greater incidence of early retirement, a continued decline in real earnings, the elimination of many formerly well-paying jobs, wage concessions in several unionized industries, and the establishment of two-tier wage system that offers lower wages and slower pay increases to new entrants into the labor market. The cyclical unemployment and permanent job loss due to takeovers, plant closings and layoffs also have increased. Traditionally male jobs, example in manufacturing, and disappearing, and the types of jobs women traditionally have held, like for example services, are increasing. Family and work are undergoing immense transformation as 21st century begins. Today, alterations in the world economy are now affecting every aspect of the employment scene, the work, the workers, the employers, and the typical career sequence in both developing and industrialized nations, according to Berger. In our post-industrial society, the global economy is characterized by an advancing communications technology that dictates connectedness not only among nations but also among individuals and within our overall social institutions. In the poorest regions of the world, the shift from agriculture to industry as multinational corporations move into to take advantage of the cheap labor. Developing nations meanwhile are shifting from industry based economies to information and service industries. As a result of all this change, certain job categories are appearing or disappearing. Seemingly overnight, educational requirements for work are shifting every few years, and corporate strategies such as downsizing and outsourcing are becoming standard practices. Consequently, the work path for individuals is much less predictable and secure than it once was, with a widening employment and income gap between those with knowledge and those without it. The technological change has also affected work and family. The growing use of computers, the pagers and the cellular the telephones, for example, meant that some employees could perform their work almost anywhere. Thus, home business and teleporting opportunities have expanded worldwide. Now, let us have a look on the effects of family on work. Family roles and family structure also influence work and work roles. Although variations do exist, the following general trends exist in the Western industrialized world. Two of the most significant aspects of the family life and family roles that influence work are the parenthood and other dependent care responsibilities and marital dynamics, according to Gels and Haas. Having children does affect labor market behavior. For example, women who earn a high proportion of family income before childbirth or who have high status jobs have been found to be more likely to return to work sooner after childbirth than other women. However, involvement in family roles seems to reduce women's tendency to be involved in careers. Mothers are also more likely than fathers to miss days of work, and research suggests that up to 40% of the parents miss work because of the childcare responsibilities. Many women quit their jobs because of an inability to find appropriate childcare. Others work evening or weekend shifts when husbands can care for children or leave the workplace for home-based employment. In fact, women account for an increasing share of the self-employed in many post-industrial nations. In single-parent household, extended family members may assist with childcare. The grandmother may be the main caregiver for her daughter's children while the daughters work. Now, let us study the property laws in different communities. Property as per Muslim law, the daughter's share. According to Muslim law, the daughters who are in inheritance, the daughter's share is equal to 1/2 of the sons, in keeping with the concept that a woman is worth half a man. She has, however, and has always had full control over this property. It is legally hers to manage, control and to dispose of as she wishes in life or death. Though she may receive gifts from those whom she would inherit from, there should be no doubt that the gift is a means of circumventing the inheritance laws of 1/3 of a man's share, since under Muslim law the share of inheritance are very strict. Daughters have rights of residence in parents' houses as well as right to maintenance until they are married. In case of divorce, charge for maintenance reverts to her parental family after the iddat period, approximately 3 months, and in case she has children capable of supporting her, the charge falls upon them. Now, according to the law, the wife's property laws are: in Islamic law, a woman's identity, though inferior in status to a man's, is not extinguished in him when she marries. Thus, she retains control over her goods and properties. She has right to the same maintenance he gives to her other wives. If any and many take action against him in case he discriminates against her, the Supreme Court has held that in the case of divorce, a Muslim husband is liable to make reasonable and fair provision for the future of the divorced wife, which obviously includes her maintenance as well. Such a reasonable and fair provision extending beyond the iddat period must be made by the husband within the iddat period in terms of section 3 of the Muslim Women and the Protection of Rights on Divorce Act. And liability of Muslim husband to pay maintenance is not consigned to iddat period. Right to meher according to the terms of the contract agreed at the time of the marriage, and she will inherit from him to the extent of 1/8 if there are children or 1/4 if there are none. If there is more than one wife, the share may diminish to 1/16. In circumstances where there are no shares in the estate as prescribed by law, the wife may inherit a greater amount by will. A Muslim may dispose 1/3 of his property by will, though not to a sharer in an inheritance. The mother's share. In case of divorce or widowhood, she is entitled to maintain from her children, and her property is to be divided according to the rules of Muslim law. She is entitled to inherit 1/6 of her deceased child's estate. And according to the Christian property law, the daughters who inherits equally with any brother and sister to her father's estate or mother's, entitled to shelter maintenance before marriage but not after from her parents. Full rights over her personal property upon attaining majority. Until then, her natural guardian is her father. And wife's share is where she is entitled to maintenance from her husband, but his failure to provide the same is not itself ground for divorce. Upon death of her husband, she is entitled to a 1/3 share of his property, the rest being divided among the children equally. She must inherit a minimum of rupees 5,000 from her husband's estate, supposing the estate is more than this amount. In case it is not, she may inherit the whole. And mother's share is where she is not entitled to maintenance from her children. In case of any of her children dies without spouse or living children, she may inherit 1/4 of the assets. Now, the property as per Hindu law. The daughter's share according to the Hindu law is, daughters have equal right of inheritance as sons to their father's property. Daughters also have share in the mother's property. The Hindu Succession, the Amendment Act 2005, 39 of 2005 came into force from 9th September 2005. The Amendment Act removes gender discriminatory provisions in the Hindu Succession Act 1956 and gives the following rights to daughters. The daughter of a co-parsoner shall by birth become a co-parsoner in her own right in the same manner as the son. The daughter has the same rights in the co-parsonary property as she would have had if she had been a son. The daughter shall be subject to the same liability in the said co-parsonary property as that of a son. The daughter is allotted the same share as she is allotted with the son. Married daughter has no right to shelter in her parents' house nor maintenance, charge for her being passed on to her husband. However, a married daughter has a right of residence if she is deserted or divorced or widowed. A woman has full rights over any property that she has earned or that has been gifted or willed to her, provided she has attained majority. She is free to dispose of these by sale, gift or will as she deems fit. And wife's share according to Hindu law is, a married woman has exclusive right over the individual property unless she gives it in part or wholly to anyone. She is the sole owner and manager of her assets, whether earned or inherited or gifted to her. Entitled to maintenance, support and shelter from her husband, or if her husband belongs to a joint family, then from the family. Upon partition of a joint family estate between her husband and his sons, she is entitled to a share equal to as any other person. Similarly, upon the death of her husband, she is entitled to an equal share in his portion together with her children and his mother. And mother's share according to Hindu law. She is entitled to maintenance from children who are not dependents. She is also a class 1 higher. A widowed mother has a right to take a share equal to the share of a son if a partition of the joint family estate takes place among the sons. All property owned by her may be disposed of by sale, will or gift as she chooses. In case she dies in estate, her children inherit equally regardless of their sex. And maintenance according to the Hindu law, Section 125 of the Criminal Procedure Code prescribes for maintenance of wives, children and parents. If any person having sufficient means or neglects or refuses to maintain, his wife who is unable to maintain herself, or his legitimate or illegitimate minor child, his father or mother unable to maintain himself or herself, court in such cases may order such person to make a monthly allowance for maintenance to the wife, child or parents. An order issued by a magistrate of the first class. Magistrate can also, during the pendency of the proceeding order, monthly allowance for the interim maintenance The application for the monthly allowance for the interim maintenance and expenses for proceeding shall as for possible be disposed within 60 days from the date of the service of notice of the application. To sum up the lesson, what we have studied is the family is an intimate domestic group made up of people related to one another by bonds of blood, sexual mating or legal ties. It is the smallest and most basic social unit, which is also the most important primary group found in any society. It is the simplest and most elementary group found in a society. It is a social group consisting of a father, mother and one or more children. Family roles and family structure also influences work and work roles. Thank you.